Welcome, my friends. This is Rick, and this is your seat at the table. We are looking at Shadows in the South. This is set in southern Middle Earth, as it says right here. This is an additional supplement source book for yet another area of human habitation or inhabited section of Middle Earth, this great southwestern portion uh, the of the South, and another home for the Easterlings and one of the Nazgul and so on and forth. So enter the mysterious realms of southwestern Middle Earth, a land touched by the black legacies of Morgoth and Sauron, graceful creations of J.R.R. elves, and the fiery passion of the men of the Western East. Here, between the Great Sea and the golden spires of the Yellow Mountains, the powerful seafaring Numerians and their relentless successors warred with the savage Haradrim. Amidst this unceasing struggle, the wild Sidreri and the Drell peoples labor to survive and maintain and protect their cultures. These tribes cannot run from the shadow in the south, for they reside beyond Far Haired at the very edge of Middle Earth. This was published in 1988. And of course, there are basic guidelines for converting things and so on and so forth. So it says, background. Shadows of the South focus on the southwestern Middle Earth, land touched by black legacies and Morgoth Sauron, blah, 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 blah. This part of Endor lies to the southwest of the river Arnar and incorporates Hiran and reaches surrounding the Bay of Drell, Aloma, Mirador, and Drell. Long settled yet full of wild shores, dark woods, and rugged mountains, this region is often referred to as the Dominions of the Seven. It is a place of riches and wonder of a fiercely independent oligarchies, yeah. Oligarchies, challenged by the might of the Storm King and the terror engendered by the Lord of the Rings. We got the history, timeline, all the stuff that went on down there. Seven lands or dominions straddle the lower half of the Great Peninsula, called the Mitharn, or South End, or more properly, Southwest Point. Blessed by a countless array of harbors, the strategic region focuses on the sea, which is particularly appropriate in the light of the fact that it was here that the Belager mates the Hergar. The chain of peaks divides the peninsula in half, reinforces this nautical outlook. But the Yellow Mountains, the Western Dominions, Eastern Dominions, various dominions, locations. There's your map. Nice mountain chain that splits the two in half. Wind and water, Great Sea coast, the Bay of Drell, the Ilun, or also simply known as the Blue Lake, or the south of the Haragir, or the South Sea, or Ike, part of the encircling Sea of Middle Earth. Flora and fauna, peoples of culture. We got the Edina, principal inhabitants. The Sideri reside in the open countryside. The Drell live in the southwestern dominions. The Pel live in the southern eastern dominions. The Funa elves. The Funa are Sylvan or Avar elves who live in the great forests of the Belgalin and Drell. Like most of the Avari, they are extremely hardy and able to survive and prosper in nearly any environment. Nevertheless, they prefer the cool woodlands of the type of southwestern Endor. So basically, this is a offshoot of the Sylvan elves who or quote, the dark elves that never went west, never seen the light of the trees. They progressed to this particular region, settled it, and we've been living quite happily there ever since. So they got to break down their origins, which I just pretty much explained, political structure, military structure, currency, appearance, housing, diet, worship. Then they have the Chalhala, or the old ones, or Woe, or Dudan, people who reside in the Pale Highlands. We got the Bobblad Dwarves. Dwarves occupy this region around the city of Black Mane of the Yellow Mountains. These Nagarian prefer the dry, dim environments of subterranean halls under the mountains to the harsh daylight, which is so common in the rest of the Seven Lands. Many mad blood shunned the rest of the residents of the dominions, though their greed spurs them to labor hard in service of commerce. So we got a tribe of the Dwarves, one of the 7 tribes. They're known for their short, kind of scraggly beards. They pretty much run pretty much the same as any Dwarven society and function in a similar aspect. Politics and power. A virtual unceasing war raged in southwestern Middle-earth. Here the Herodin of Hiren and their allies strive to extend their rule to the edge of the continent, while the servants of the Real Fire attempt to implement their particular dualist dogma in every corner of the region. Both forces oppose the adept and often ruthless oligarchy that holds sway over the 7 lands. Descendants of the Numerines who subjected the 7 lands during the Second Age, these lords are precariously balanced in their dominion of their myriad subject peoples. So we got the Council of 7, Shadow in the south. For the most part, the minions of Shadow threaten the 7 lands from just outside rather than from within. Having conquered Herod and subjugated the border kingdoms along the flanks. I gotta get a little air in here. Okay, there we go. I'm gonna open the window there. Only the strength of the unsteady alliance stands in their way. Fortunately, Evil One's plans encompass all of Middle-earth. His goals transcend regional politics. Thus, he is often unconcerned about trivial campaigns or prefers to rely on the local forces to bring his frail enemies under the oppressive wing, hence the army of the Southern Dragon. Represents the principal external threat to dominions. This huge horde consists of warriors in service of Akaharel, or the Ular Storm King, and chief servant of Serana Northwestern Endor. I think he's the number 3rd ring wraith. Quote me on that, but I think that's how he ranks. Cult of the Dark Overlord, the Black Dogs, those with the Black Hand, guys of Malzar. Once the Lord of the Knifeless Ones, Malazar is a vampiric sorcerer corrupted by the Ringwraith Anafapel and Unafel. He now controls the Nocturnal army of faithful undead warriors known as the Eyes of Malazar. These formidable wights plan to embark on a campaign of horror and conquest that will enable the bloodthirsty Lord to rule all of the Erdlanar. So there's yet another one. That's the Assault the Dwarf Hold of the Black Theme. And Stark Terror, the Slayers. Independent factions. You got Servants of the Real Fire, an ancient origin, unyielding and belief that Servants of the Real Fire pose a formidable threat to dominions as the army of the Southern Dragon. Still, neither the Valsali or the cultures they control understand this insidious, relentless force. The servants are masters of the essence who repudiated both the notion that the Valar are guardians of Arda and the ideas attached to the Song of Creation. Ritual magic contrasts sharply with the fading and naturalistic practices of the Valdecalian seers and the Cedar, Eden, and Drell Amnes. All right, so we got monks, society, the monks of Mortaran, the society of Durrell, rovers, divine speakers, warriors of night. There's a whole collage of different groups, politically and economically motivated to try to take over control or to prevent others from doing the same thing. Peoples of note are important NPCs. I'm going to try this. Go through all them fellas. And we got the Servants of the Shadow, or Akharal the Nuzgal. He's a second Numerian lord corrupted by the Lord of the Rings, born in a manor overlooking blah blah blah. So he basically got his history, how he became a Ringwraith, how he was in charge of trying to control this section of Middle Earth. I should send it from the Numerians. We got our main cities: Ostellar, Romolo. So Diostodore, the 7 lands, is a relatively urbanized region. Population is concentrated in 3 great ports, 5 lesser cities, and over a dozen other towns. Trade and town life are key here, where farming and mining are only minor industries. So here's Romolo. Or for hell, other towns to note. Lots of places, lots of things to do here, lots of places to adventure. Lots of potential. I have ran a mini campaign set in this particular region one time. I've used it as a source for some backstory stuff for other characters and player NPCs and things like that. It is a very rich environment, no question about it. Commerce, the roads, chain of trade, sites and notes, Apworth's Manor, Ivarian's Maze, another nice color map. Nice funky maze. The Hall of Alcara, Urgost. It says Urgost, the highland retreat that rises out of the southern foothills of the Yellow Mountains near the headwaters of the Opun Elun monastery. Is only a half day's ride south. So, like, yeah. Well, MERP doesn't encourage a class like the monk that you see in D&D and other role-playing games. It is through this sort of thing that you can help to incorporate them into a MERP campaign, so that this gives you a taste of what some monasteries would be like and how they would function, and allow for that particular character class to be developed if you chose to allow it. It's not traditional to the MERP playset, but that's, hey, it's a matter of how you want to look at it. And Angalad is the tallest, oldest goldwood grove and located at the center of the Funa Kingdom. So basically the heart of the Elvish community in the southwest. Lair of the Rain Drake, Dirish Tunnels, Shadow Holes, House of the Black Hand, Eric's Tomb, Malazar's Tower, the Tower of Hargog. It's high in the bamboo forests on the eastern side of the Yellow Mountains. No roads cut through these dense woods, only a narrow trail guarded by Hargog's deadly slayers. It's an ideal site for the half-troll servants, since the assassin rides fell beasts when they strike out at night. While secluded by rugged terrain, the tower is actually a short arrow ride from Fell Karth in the north or Trent to the southwest. Spire of the Flame is only 30 miles or so northwest, but Albert over the mountains. Lair of the Black Dogs. Black Dogs utilize a number of small, secluded strongholds. Most are located in ruins or abandoned structures, places where the superstitious might fear to tread. Like all minions of the Shadow, these vile murderers twist local tales according to their needs. Some of these lairs appear near towns. Following lair of Espel is actually situated in the south of the city of Arpel, on a mile east of Derry's fortress, Lightning Head. It is a boldly placed site. Here the Black Dogs enjoy a tomb to shroud their abode. Layout of the lair. Ventures, they are changers. Walk up the black stair. Emrazer's cruel catch. Kashish. The Slayer's Canyon challenge. Other adventure ideas. I got a lot of extra NPCs and character options. Breakdown of various military and organizations. So in a nutshell, we have 7 communities, a number of large and medium-sized cities, a large population. There is a huge amount of influence that is competing with each other. Everything from Sauron's legacy and his followers to a bunch of other dark force mindset cults and religions who are in conflict with both the good and the bad, and independent organizations. A number of them include murderers and assassins and slavers, etc. So there's such a huge variety of things that are available. If you ever get a chance to get this and just read, just for a read through, it's an excellent source for reading material and for game ideas set in Middle Earth, especially in the South, away from your traditional Western philosophy and view of things. Till next time, this is Rick.